Hello, everyone. Welcome from all over the world. Today we have a very special female-only and super international panel, and I'm very, very excited about it. And we are very sorry, it's a female-only panel, and it's because we couldn't find any man who would join us. Well, but welcome, everybody. Today we are going to talk about changing travel behaviors. And I want to welcome Pavlina. She's the co-founder and CEO of MyStay, and she's joining us today from Prague. Also, hi. Hello, Sheryl Shen. She's a go-to-market China expert and associate marketing manager at China Skinny, and she's joining us from Shanghai today. Hi, Sheryl.
Hi, hello.
Hi.
Then there's Lucie joining us today. She's an expert project leader at Boston Consulting Group, and she's joining from Italy.
Hey, hello, buongiorno.
Hello. And Vail Ross is the Senior Vice President of Global Business Development Marketing at SDR, and she's joining from Nashville, Tennessee.
Good morning and afternoon.
Good morning. And then our last panelist is Jospia Jutt Ferlan. She is the cluster general manager at Hilton Hotels in Zagreb. Hello, Jospia.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you.
It's great to having you with us today.
Thank you.
We haven't seen a global crisis that's impacted every country globally and every facet of the tourism industry yet. Travel and tourism is among the most affected sectors, with airplanes on the ground, hotels closed, and travel restrictions put in place in virtually all countries around the world. According to the European Commission, the virus is set to cost the global tourism industry up to 400 billion euros this year. Travel and travel planning are being disrupted worldwide. Yesterday, the European Commission presented a package of guidelines and recommendations to help member states gradually lift restrictions and allow tourism businesses to reopen. Although demand has started to return in some markets, such as China, a quick and painless recovery is unlikely as countries around the world prepare to navigate at least 12 more months of struggle against the coronavirus before a vaccine or treatment will be available. So when travel does begin to come back, both the market and the nature of traveler demand will likely look vastly different for a long time. So today we want to discuss about this change of travel behavior and demand on different levels, the global level, the national level, and also the personal level. But before we jump into the discussion, I would like every one of you to quickly introduce yourself. Maybe 30 seconds would be great. Pavlina, would you like to start?
Of course. Hello. So I'm Pavlina. I'm from MyStay. MyStay is the guest experience platform that is connecting hotels and their guests after the reservation. We're also trying to digitize some of the processes in hotels currently to be contactless. Just for your information, we're doing online check-in, check-out, communication and upselling of the services in the hotel or for the whole travel properties. So this is what we do.
Great. Sheryl?
Yeah, hi, hello. I'm Sheryl, representing China Skinny. We are a Shanghai-based market insight consulting firm. We closely monitor the market shifts and changing consumer behaviors and stuff, and we provide branding strategy to go-to-market strategy for clients all over the world. Yeah.
Amazing. Lucie, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so hi, I work for Boston Consulting Group since last year, but I consider myself still a hotelier. I'm coming from hotel industry for 12 years. I also spent some time in the airline and casino. My whole life almost is commercial pricing, revenue management, distribution. And I joined BCG as an expert project leader for travel, tourism, pricing, revenue management. So very nice to meet you, and thank you for inviting me.
Amazing. Thanks for joining us. Jospia, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm CEO of a management company who is licensed to operate 3 Hilton hotels here in Zagreb and beyond once we continue with our developments. Also, we are licensed from another brands, and we were actually in our development stage before Corona stopped us. We just opened our 3rd property here in Zagreb. Now it's going to be this summer. It's going to be a full year of operations, if we don't count these 3 months of non-operating. And we are looking forward to any other opportunity that might happen in the region, in Europe, regarding taking over renovations, reconstruction, remodeling, being a third-party operator for the owners and investors of their properties. And that's our, let's say, future goal, which we would like to upgrade on our operational level, which we have now currently.
Interesting. Thank you. And Vail, hi. Would you like to go next, Vail? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi. Yes, I can. Sorry, a little bit of a delay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so Vail here with STR. STR is the largest hospitality benchmarking and analytics and consulting company. We've been around for over 30 years. Obviously, we have tracked performance for the hotel space around the world during many downturns. This is one that we have never experienced before, as we all know, and it's changing times, and now more than ever, data is really the key to making some good business decisions, learning from past mistakes, and really innovating what we're doing today. And our data solutions is there to help the industry do that along the way. And I'm excited for the conversation today. It's nice to meet everyone.
Amazing. It's great to meet you and great to have you here. Thank you. So now I would like to jump in. Oh no, before I do that, I have to introduce myself. I'm very sorry. I'm Olga. I am the chapter lead here in Berlin of Women in Hospitality and Travel Tech. And I'm also the co-founder and CEO of Dialogshift. And Dialogshift is a conversational AI and direct messaging platform for hospitality and travel. And I would like, first of all, to start off the conversation around scenarios and forecasting. According to UNWTO, current scenarios point to declines of 58% to 78% in international tourist arrivals for the year, depending on the speed of the containment and the duration of travel restrictions and shutdown of borders. So there are different scenarios how international tourism will recover within the next 12 to 24 months. From your perspective and from your insight, and I would direct the question to Vail, what is the scenario you think is the most likely and most realistic? And do you have a personal forecast for us?
So really, I think around recovery, it's going to depend on 3 different distinct segments of demand and potentially demand coming back. The first and foremost will really be, drive to market, more domestic type travel. We saw that after 9/11, where there were people that were in fear, but mainly in fear of an attack. This is now fear of a disease, and make people feeling comfortable whether to get on a plane. We're hearing especially that comfort level is not there just yet from a large perspective. So what we are hearing, and one of the segments that we are expecting that will come back, will be that leisure market. The transient consumer will get us back out of there. There is some pent up demand. There is interest for people to go see family again, to go see friends again. So in the ability to get in their car, have control over where they stop, where they go, we suspect that this will definitely come back. A second segment where we will definitely see some contribution to the recovery will be around corporate, making sure that these businesses feel comfortable again to have their employees out doing business. Again, it may look differently, but definitely having that corporate transient back will be key for our hoteliers. This is normally the consumer that yields a higher rate for our hotels and is also more of that middle of the week type demand. The one where I think there's the most question of what it's going to look like as we move into the recovery will be around groups and meetings. How that's going to come back and what that looks like is still a little bit unknown. A lot of the hotel companies have done a great job in sharing with what their plans are. Wynn, for example, posted on LinkedIn and other social outlets what their plan is to address coming back to business and having large groups congregate. Technology is going to play a huge part in this. The group segment is going to be key for the top markets around the world. Having larger groups create compression nights, which overall lift up markets and lift up surrounding markets. So really understanding when that demand comes back and what that looks like is a segment that will really drive this recovery. My personal forecast, STR will be releasing our revised forecast next week, so I can't give you any insights just there on what STR's is, because that's top secret. However, the Vail Ross forecast, I truly feel that we likely will not get back to 2019 levels of performance till probably 2023, 24. That will likely be impacted if we do get a vaccination sooner rather than later. However, I feel that people have to feel safe and have to feel comfortable. With that said, people are going to want to travel. I think my biggest concern is that how the industry reacts to when that demand comes back, if it's going to be a feeding frenzy and that the industry does some drastic measures to get demand that may not be the most beneficial to the bottom line. And that's probably one of my larger concerns personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very interesting. Sheryl, I was wondering, what can we learn from other crises and also from other regions, like in China, for example? Do you have some insight for us here?
Yeah, definitely. Just in terms of other crises we suffered before in China, as many of you probably know, during 2003, we have also the SARS outbreak, where especially the travel industry also suffered a huge hit. They are expected to Ctrip announced at the time they expected to lost 29.2 million yuan, but at that 17 years ago that's a huge amount of money, although compared to now it's probably not that much. But even just after a year, China also quickly bounced back. Obviously SARS is not the same level of a pandemic as we have now, but I have here some data I can share, just very recent data. As you probably don't know, the past 1st of May is one of the biggest national holiday we have in China. It has a 5-day duration, but we can definitely take some of the data from there and see how we're tracking after the the January huge outbreak, China being one of the first countries suffering the most. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Perfect. So this is the data released on the 8th of May, which is just a couple of days ago, covering data we collected during the 5 days in the beginning of May. So we had 121 million total travelers, which is very good news compared to just a couple of months ago. And that comes to 24.2 million total daily travelers. And then we can see on the right side a little breakdown on where they're traveling, what kind of transportation they're taking. From the railway, we have a 28.4 million travelers in total. That's a month-on-month increase of 55%, which you can see is a really drastic increase compared to the peak of the outbreak. although still suffer from a 60% decrease from the year before, but I would say it's definitely really good progress we're making here in China. And just quickly move on to domestic airlines. Obviously, international travel is still not an option currently, but just the airline, the domestic airline, we can already see very promising data. It's slowly growing, not rapidly as we would have expected, given the severity of this pandemic. But even 8%, is definitely a lot compared to the full lockdown. And just a little bit down on that slide, we can see there were 150 million total tourists. So as Val was saying that before, people are having this pent-up desire to meet your friends and family. So not all 121 million travelers were actually, tourists. So, but from that, we can see 150 million total tourists is already quite, positive. That generated approximately 4.756 million yuan, which is a 50% recovery from, compared to the same time last year. All of this is quite promising from our perspective. You can, just a little bit more on that. Many people because international travel is still not an option. So many people opt out for traveling domestically. We can see, this is different areas. We can see almost coming to full recovery in tourist sites. This is collected by big data. So comparing the same average, tourist daily amount to last year, same time. And the reason that why we can, achieve such a quick recovery, like Val said before as well, like technology is definitely a big part of it. On the right side, you can see the controversial Live Health QR code, as many of you probably heard of. So this is a technology developed by big tech corporation in China, such as Alibaba, and combined with WeChat is also one of the biggest chatting app, multifunctional app we have here in China. So with this big data, we can closely track every traveler's health status. With green, that means you're good to go. With red, that means you probably interact with someone who have high risk of confirmed cases, which will lead to, you wouldn't be able to get accepted to anywhere, essentially. And red means that you are supposed to go into another quarantine to see what your results will be. So, and just quickly, since we're at this, another reason I wanted to show you guys another one of the approaches we've taken to show, how we can bounce back so quickly, how we deal with this, is we use like a lot of big hotels. They come up with live stream, to prepare to show you guys how it would be like, and just to stay relevant. The big, even the big C-Trip airline CEO had his debut on live stream to talk to people about the, what they're offering, and bring up good traveling deals, such as on the right side, some of the hotel deals that normally you would get for like 3 times more the price. These are the little things that definitely help us to, to deal with the crisis.
Wow, that is super interesting. Thank you very much for sharing this. Where can customers see those videos and the live stream? Is it
so we have Douyin is one of the biggest live stream app, where you guys probably know better as TikTok. Most people, spend so much time on that app, just scrolling through videos and stuff. And the government actually had to bring out a viewing warning for people who've been viewing for 2 hours straight. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Lucie, do you think this is something we could use in Europe?
Well, I think I lived myself in China in 2011 to 2013, so I know that China is much more advanced we are in the rest of the world, particularly in Europe. I'm back now, and I really see, especially countries like Germany, you really see we are very far behind. So I'm not sure, but I do think that the technology will help. I just wanted to point on something on this, what Sheryl was saying, and that's something we also related to the question what we can learn from the crisis. And I just wanted to point here is I think in the past crisis we have seen a lot people dropping the price down, and we have seen some price wars, and we also have seen that the ADRs take double time to come back than the occupancy. And so the GOP levels, for example, from 2009 took 7 years versus 6, so 5 versus RevPAR. So I think we have to be very careful, how we use the technology and what we want to push and what are the deals. Because, for example, from our survey, we see that the customers that they want to travel more, they will be driven by the deals. And we know also that, for example, hospitality industry is significantly less sophisticated than the airlines. So I think there is a huge risk of the price wars that will come when the recovery will come. So I think one of the really learning here is be really strong on the pricing strategy, being careful with wholesalers and OTAs, which will be really pushing for the volume deals because they don't have a problem spilling the inventory because they just contract more. But if you bet contract that it's really wrong. So I think really here the learning is be careful on your pricing strategy, be careful on the deals, use the technology smartly, and make sure that you really are targeting the right customer, just not launching things like that. And it's for me the learning.
Interesting. Pavlina, do you have something to say about technology and how the travel sector as a whole can use technology to recover, let's say, quicker than without technology?
Well, definitely there is a point what to do now to not to make the new wave of the COVID crisis come again, or just being in normal. So let's consider the first situation when we really have to stop the COVID as it is, because travel was actually one of the things that make the COVID be spread around the world. So people are scared to travel because they don't want to be infected again. But we have to convince people that travel is not a problem, and we can do it kind of in the not simple way, but let's say in a manner acting way where we really will keep the social distancing, but then also airports or the hotels will have this contactless solutions where they will be still in contact with the guest, but with keeping the distance and keeping the quality so they can still deliver the service, but on the side of really keeping the social distance. So this is where I really see where people should really move on, because on the side of the hotels or hospitality, there are less than 1% of the receptions who are contactless, who are ready to serve their service, which is where this is the basic. So less than 1% of those receptions are ready to serve now. So to prepare for future is definitely the moment to put some softwares which will really make the things faster and more contactless on broad. So this is it.
Yeah, definitely. Jospia, what are your plans here? Are you planning to install more guest-facing technology, or have you already done that? So what is your take on this?
Well, let me just come back to some beginning of some of you ladies. Someone mentioned September 11. If you remember, September 11 was a big, actually it was big sudden impact on airline companies. They were devastated. And after September 11, if you remember, we upgraded security measures on the airport. All of us at the beginning, we were like, oh my God, now we have all these new safety procedures. You have to take off your shoes. You have to no liquids, no anything. Today, everyone is traveling like it is normal and like it was forever. So we don't even remember that was actually after September 11 uplifted on that level. So this virus is, first of all, the biggest threat for any human is something what is not known. For us, the biggest problem was a virus that we did not know how it's spreading around, how difficult it is to fight against, and how long it will last. There are lots of combinations that will die with the spring, that will die, that will never die, that will be mutations and things like that. So more or less today, after 3 months, I think we are a little bit smarter. And of course, we know now that social distancing and sometimes just basic hygienic methods are normal to protect yourself. So from that point of view, it doesn't look, it's a big problem, right? However, this fear is still in the people, and they're a little bit afraid how it will look like at the end. Still, we have lots of questions with airline companies how they will secure distancing, social distancing, how they will actually secure their ventilation systems in cabins and things like that. But I'm sure very soon they will find a solution for that as well. These days, we just yesterday we had our first guest here in our DoubleTree hotel. This is the oldest hotel in our family, 7 years on the market. We had first guests, and next week we even expect more. It is very important that the guests feel that you know how to handle situations and life with the virus, because we have to live. I'm sure that another shutdown will not happen because we are, first of all, smarter. Second thing, we realized how dangerous that is for all of our businesses, especially for, of course, tourism and travel. But in general, it is a huge impact, a negative impact on economy. Of course, health is first, but now we know more how to stay healthy. The only thing is also that hotels needs to be aware of that, and they need to be aware of that, and they just need to push as much as they can. Of course, it depends. If you're a big hotel chain, it's easier for you. Someone is making all these procedures and SOPs how to implement it. If you are smaller, just follow the big ones. That's what I always say. Don't make any questions. Don't invent anything new. Just follow how the big ones are doing that. What we have done, we implemented non-contact check-in or check-out or whatever is possible with our guests. Just these days, we are implementing digital key in our hotels. We are also implementing digital check-in, straight to the room check-in. We offer that to our clients. And also everything what so far was like sort of luxury, we make them more easier to consume. For example, room service. There is no extra charge for room service. If you wanna, instead of going to the restaurant, instead of being alone 2 meters from another person or queuing while waiting a table, we offer you room service to your room, no extra charge, a la carte menu from the restaurant. Or breakfast as well. If you are in a bigger room and you can also you can have a breakfast in a room, why not? Let's give a breakfast. There are certain things that we offer to our guests now more flexible without extra charges before, because we want them to feel safe. We want them also to have choice. The most important thing is when people will feel safe and free when they have choice. That's the most important thing. Yeah. And what is also what this technology show us, of course, shows that we can have great panel and e-meeting each other from all over the world, which I like very much. I like it. So because today I will not travel to wherever you ask me to come, but not because I'm afraid of the virus, not that, but sometimes it's more practical. However, on the other side, what my experience is from our sales guys here, who are talking to our corporate clients on a daily basis, you know what I said? Well, you know, guys, we used to see our GM or our director once or twice per month. Now I see him every second day on the Zoom call. Why have to be now all of a sudden every second day on a Zoom call? This is, some opposite reaction, which we never expected that will happen. Because people are, at the beginning, people used to say, now who will come to the hotel to have a meeting? Who will make a meetings? Who will make an events? Oh, they all discovered. Yes, but we are social. Humans are social people. We are social people. We don't like to be home office. Now, I think even more than ever, we do not want to be anymore in the home offices. So it is normal that they would like to travel. And from big restrictions, how you will handle food and things like that, which we implemented already, we came to the point social distancing, because we all have sanitary and all these regulations even a long time before it was implemented in hospitality, even before coronavirus, because there are all these HASSB protocols are antivirus and antibacterials for any others, not only corona. We have it in hotels already. It's ongoing process all the time, so there's nothing new regarding to that. But it will take time. I think more. And also coming to China, I was in China 2011, and I had there interesting conferences. What I learned, for example, that China, Romania, Poland, and Russia, they can live from domestic market, and they do live mainly from domestic market. We do not live from domestic market. In Croatia particularly, no Mediterranean, there's no Mediterranean country, maybe Italy, because now they're also in a different type of crisis as well, but all other countries on Mediterranean coast, they don't live from domestic market, they live from foreign guests coming. So it's very important for us to open the borders and find the way how to travel with airlines safely, just like we found a way long time ago after September 11 to travel safely.
Yes, that's a very good comparison actually to the 9/11 crisis. Lucie, I have now a question for you. What do you think
I think another
people travel again? What will change on the short term, mid-term, and also long term? Oh, you're on mute. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay, so thanks. So I think that, so first of all, I mean, now we have really shock in the demand, and I think this will last. We know from, for example, from STRs that in 2020 there will be a huge reduction, and my personal forecast will be there will be like 50% decline in occupancy for the full year. So I think that the demand will be definitely down 2020, but also 2021, which will also depend on the capacities which will be deployed by the airline and the railways, also the governmental changes and the lockdown and everything. But we have done a survey in BCG, which I may share some of the information. It was done in UK, France, Germany, and Italy. So these are also important source markets, especially here in Europe. And so 87% of the consumer actually fears a recession, and 50% is really concerned about their finance, so they are saving more. The perceived risk, the exposure to the risk in travel and tourism. So there is actually quite high perceived risk in the flight, in the casino, in the Uber, in the theme park, and Airbnb, which I think it's something good for the hotels, because the hotels and the restaurant are actually perceived as a lower risk travel and tourism sector. And mostly the known brand and the luxury brand, they actually have a low perception of the risk. We have seen a huge reduction on the spend, but also a lot of cancellation. But I think what is important, only 25% of the reduced travel spend, only 25% will be actually reinvested into future vacations. So 75% is either saved or it's spent on something different. And 50% of the consumer expect to resume domestic travel within 6 months. 50% of the domestic. And we just heard there is a lot of countries which actually don't have much domestic market, and the people expect more to actually travel internationally. And the 10% of the consumers that expect travel more, it's because of the deals. So I think the 2020-2021 will be very difficult because there will be significant reduction of the demand. Plus on top, a lot of restrictions which we heard, less corporate travel, no groups or very little groups, groups without the meetings, different food and beverage concepts. So I think that 2021 it will be low tide, and we will see how actually we're beginning and who not. So I think it will be interesting to see what comes.
Can I just ask a question?
Sorry?
Yeah.
I was just about to ask a question to Vail, because Vail mentioned at the beginning that you expect a full recovery to this level of 2019 in 23rd, 24th, right?
That was my own personal thought.
Okay, because I was on recently. I was on one also video conference with your colleague Thomas, and they made some studies that actually show that 2021, 22nd, depends on the part of the world. Actually, they expect to recover on 2019.
So if you're looking at from a percentage of growth and a percentage of positivity, yes. And looking at sheer rates and occupancy, just getting back to those levels that we experienced in 2019, I personally feel it could take a bit longer. Yes. Right now, we need to be able to get hotels and occupancy levels on average, 55% occupancy or higher is where there's an ability to make some profitability. Now, again, depending on where that occupancy is coming from what channel, from what type of business, will really then determine the yield of profitability. And I think to the comments that were made before, it is going to be a battle for people to come. And people are battle in the sense of, I fear that the hotels are going to go out and do all that they can to get the demand to come, which that won't always yield great opportunities for the bottom line. So I personally feel, and again, there are different projections out there, I feel like it's going to take longer to get to those actual occupancy levels, and it's going to take even longer to get those actual ADRs back up, longer than 2022 and 23. The growth of demand will be coming back because of just the sheer volume of where we declined to. But RevPAR as of March was down over 51% for the total US. That's going to take a very long time to get back up with what we will do with rates and occupancies.
And I also think, Vail, what you say, it's I think I very much agree what you say. And I also think that occupancy come back because the emerging markets still boom. They are still booming, and we see the tourism international arrivals has been booming since 2010. So I think there is demand, that the demand will come, but I also agree the demand can be different, especially on these groups, big events, big conferences, big meetings, which is bringing the huge ADRs to the cities and also a lot of spend on the ancillary revenue. So maybe you can replace the same occupancy with the leisure or with the tourist series, whatever, but they will never bring the same spend as can bring a huge meeting and events. And that I think that the hotels will suffer a lot in this. Yeah, completely agree.
Yes, to be able to see what this does with the ancillary spend of the food and beverage line items, as well as what we'll see in cancellation line items, will probably rise as well with these different ancillary spend. So it'll be interesting times for the next couple of years when we're looking at not only performance data, but P&L data as well.
Yeah, it will probably take much longer. That's true.
Do you think that the sectors like events, also international travel will recover even longer, and will it ever recover on the level 2019? What do you think?
Well, I think that it's just probably a matter of time. I do think that because I think there was a shared information from STR somewhere in April about the big events. There was around 400 events. and actually 250 events were postponed and only 150 were cancelled. So I do believe that 3-4 years we will definitely be back where we were before, and I think also the evolution of the vaccination will be critical, and how the governments are able to handle the virus. I think it's more question, it's how long gonna take than if it's gonna come back. It's from my opinion.
I agree completely, and I think that it will definitely come back. I think there's another underlining impact that will play into this, and that is communities wanting tourism back. That is going to be, and it already has been a discussion when certain areas are starting to open up, just the community's feeling of having tourism coming back into the community, where before there were conversations of over tourism. Now it's going to be a matter of, is it safe to have tourists back? Is it going to protect? So I think now more than ever, tourism is going to play such a large economic driver into these communities. I think the one thing that this pandemic has done, while it's been incredibly tragic, it has shown that tourism really drives economic development in communities, not only through tourism, but through jobs, and making sure that the communities feel safe. And I think to some of the other comments around that the hotels communicate all that they can do to make sure that their employees are safe and the community is safe will be key in making sure that this tourism comes back, and it will come back. And I think a vaccination is key, as well as just the steps that we are taking now until a vaccination is in place will be instrumental, but it will come back.
I guess it could also be a complete game changer, right? When we have the vaccine, if you have a good treatment, maybe it can be all over very soon. Hopefully, would be great. Okay then, ladies, it's been a very great discussion. We are running out of time, unfortunately, but I would like to hear from every one of you what you think will change in the travel sector forever with COVID-19, if there is anything you think that will change forever. Who wants to start? Sheryl, you have an idea?
Yeah, you know, like you said before, the traveling industry will definitely, in terms of like consumer behavior, will change. Already suffer quite a big behavioral shift. You know, people having to stay at home for such a long time, and they grow more of attachment to their home, at least for China, which is quite a drastic change for Chinese consumers. But we do, and then this kind of behavior shift, we expect to have a rather lasting effect. So meaning that potentially some people are, you know, having more of a longer lingering fear in terms of traveling. But we do have quite a bit of relatively positive outcome from this crisis. So because of the full lockdown, we have a higher penetration rate in terms of e-commerce, you know, online purchases as well, meaning online purchases. This also affects the travel industry as well. So people more willingly, you know, to get online and search about, you know, destinations and information about, you know, hotels and deals and, you know, airlines and just, you know, traveling industry related informations online. And we have more older people now online, in reaching down to different lower tier cities. When I say tier cities, is, you know, like besides the top, you know, famous big cities like Beijing and Shanghai, we have relatively lower with cities with lower income people also being more on the e-commerce, you know, with the same amount of purchasing power, so to speak. So in terms of longer in the future, you know, changes in tourist industry, we do think it's quite positive in terms of just have a bigger, you know, target group. You have more people to target at, you have more possibility, and then to explore, you know. So that's so far I can yeah, so that's what I think so far.
Interesting. It's a very positive perspective. I like that. Yeah. Pavlina?
Okay. Well, as Jospia already said, there have been some restrictions after the 9/11, and currently we're using it heavily without knowing that we do that. So I believe that there will be a new procedures that we will put live and start to use it. From our perspective of the hospitality, as also Jospia said, the online check-in, check-out, and contactless reception. So the whole concept of reception is going to change, but people will start to take it as a new normal. So the whole concept of the receptions might change in general. And honestly, people forget. So now it's history. There are approximately 67% of people who are still scared to travel, who are still scared that they will get the COVID-19. But on the other side, the whole travel industry is expecting a high season that will be longer than normal. Normally, it ends up here in Europe in September, but we are expecting it until the end of October, for example. So people will really start to enjoy this part of travel sector again, but with the new processes. But this will be a new normal, new standard. So this all will definitely going to change, and I believe that we will find a new filters and tags and searching for your hotel or the travel accommodation, where there will be more people who are searching for a contactless or digital available hotels, which is something that is actually cool, because the whole travel industry, not the whole travel industry, like hospitality, have been let's say a slow moving dinosaurs, where you can check the airlines where check-in was super fast, and it's already here for years. And hospitality, it was slow because you need a personal touch, and I totally agree with that. But that part of administration, which is still done on the paper, this is old school. And now is especially the time when we can really change it super fast, because everyone wants to, everyone has to. And this is actually making the hotels more available in a post-COVID time. So new processes will become a new normal in next couple of months. So this is from our perspective.
Okay, amazing. Thank you very much. Jospia, what do you think? What will change forever?
Well, I will just reply with the questions. With a question, you really think that something can stop people to travel? No, it can slow them down. It can, take them locked in home for a while, but they will still travel. That's normal. That's just our need. We need to travel.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Lucie, what about you?
Well, I think there will be changes which will be imposed, and I think there is what Pavlina was saying. Digital will definitely now will take much more stand, and I think I completely agree. We were very slow in hospitality. I think that this will really help. But the other aspect, what I really hope, and it's I think many times we think that we have to travel far to see really nice things and experience great experiences. But I believe now with the restrictions, people will still have still want to travel and experience, but they will probably have to do it more domestically and locally. So I hope that the travels will become a bit more local and sustainable, and that you will discover that there is a lot of things you can see and you can experience, not going really far and flying 8, 9, 10 hours. So I really hope that people will think that this is some sort of reset and will become more sustainable in their travels.
Yeah. It's actually the case with myself. I'm spending my summer vacation 1 hour from Berlin.
Which you will never do, but now
I
you have to
never do that.
But you will discover, I discovered myself, you don't have to go far and you see so many amazing things. And I think that we are not aware of it. And I hope that people will reset and discover it.
Yes. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. In Vail, what about you?
Yes, I think I agree completely. I think a couple of things. One thing, this has allowed us to take a breath and to also see the beauty that is around us and appreciate not only our ability to go and travel and experience different worldviews, but also allow us to see what is beautiful an hour away, or what's beautiful in our own local communities that we really, really didn't take the time to appreciate before. I do agree, though, that people are going to want to continue to travel, and when they feel safer, they will go and experience more things than they probably ever done before, because we have an appreciation for that freedom. I think, secondly, this is going to elevate tourism in general, kind of going back to that economic development of how important it is to communities, for jobs, for positive contribution to economic development. I think it is going to elevate the importance of travel and tourism that it had not in the past.
Yeah, thank you. And then I have one question from the audience. I'm very sorry. We had 3 questions from the audience, but the discussion went so well, I didn't want to interrupt. But I want to close now with a question from Isabella, who asks, what do you think about green zones of different European countries proposed by Spain? Can we save a little the summer?
What is a green zone? What does it mean? It's like safe zone?
Yeah, maybe it's... Jospia,
it is one of the thinkings, right, in European Union, that we just open a few corridors through the countries which are from the epidemic perspective on a healthy level, so people can travel. Croatia, yes, I'm very happy that we are a role model of that fight against Corona, and I really hope that we shall still continue to be on that level also until we find the vaccine. And yes, I think that people would like to interact, because sometimes if you know that some country is safe and you're coming also from safe country, why not to open the way to communicate, to travel one to another. Again, it's probably regional area what we are talking about. In Europe, it's Croatia. Regional countries are Slovenia, Hungary, even Austria, and probably also the Italy is now even better than used to be, because they are step by step also going out from the quarantine. So I'm sure there will be a way to do it. But we have to bear in mind that lots of people were on not planned vacations all this time during the shutdown of their businesses. So I think there will not be 3-week holiday in August like used to be. I'm sure there will be a smaller, maybe more city breaks on longer weekends, and we have to be also aware of that. And what is not a good thing, what is not a bad thing necessarily, because people will maybe travel to one country for a longer weekend in 1 month, and then in 2 months they will travel to another country for also longer weekend. That's also fine. Maybe some habits will change, but as I said, people will travel. They would like to travel, and no matter is it business or leisure purpose, traveling is actually symbol of your freedom.
Yeah, that's an amazing session to close the discussion. Thank you so much, Jospia, and thank you everyone for joining us today. It's been really amazing. Thank you for your insights, your ideas, your thoughts, your data, your numbers. Thank you so much, and I would love to stay in touch with you all. And also for the audience, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn to every one of the amazing panelists we had today. And looking forward to welcoming you again at another panel discussion maybe this year. And have a great...
Thank you, Olga, and thank you all of you. It was very nice to meet you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.